Have you ever found yourself pondering why numerous older women are often wide awake at 3 hours in the morning? This phenomenon is more prevalent than many realize, and it's not merely an idiosyncrasy of aging. If you are a woman beyond 60 who consistently awakens in the pre-dawn hours, you might experience frustration, bewilderment, or perhaps a touch of concern. However, the crucial point is this: you're not by yourself. More significantly, there are concrete reasons for this occurrence. In this presentation, we will delve into 6 surprising and scientifically substantiated causes for older women frequently waking around 3:01 a.m. Ranging from hormonal fluctuations to the side effects of medication, these are not arbitrary occurrences. They are integral to the changes our bodies and minds undergo with age. The better you comprehend these causes, the more equipped you will be to address them, starting as soon as tonight. Remain with us until the conclusion, as the 6th reason could be the one you've never been told about, but might revolutionize your sleep permanently. Let's begin. Reason 1. Hormonal shifts disturb deep sleep. Among the most significant transformations a woman undergoes with age occurs subtly in the periphery. Her hormone levels start to decline. When estrogen and progesterone diminish, sleep patterns are altered from their previous state. These hormones are responsible for more than just regulating fertility. They are pivotal in managing the body's inherent sleep-wake cycle. Once their levels fall, sustaining sleep throughout the night becomes considerably more challenging. In earlier years, these hormones facilitated the brain's smooth navigation through various sleep stages. They fostered relaxation, managed body temperature, and even lessened the frequency of awakenings. However, as these hormones wane, particularly following menopause, the brain's sleep cycling changes. A very common consequence is suddenly waking in the dead of night, frequently around 3:00 a.m. For many women, this feels less like a minor interruption and more like an abrupt halt. One moment you are asleep, and the next you are completely awake, your mind active and your body antsy. Regardless of your fatigue, returning to sleep seems impossible. Let's consider an illustration. Patricia is 69. She once enjoyed uninterrupted sound sleep, but now she awakens with the regularity of a clock between 2:45 and 3:15 a.m. She has no need to visit the restroom. She is neither too hot nor too cold. She simply wakes up. Her physician clarified that her brain is reacting to the decrease in progesterone, which previously served as a natural calming agent. Lacking it, her sleep is shallower, and her likelihood of waking is increased. This situation is particularly exasperating because all other conditions might seem ideal. You are not under stress, your bedroom is tranquil, your daily habits remain unchanged, yet your body has transformed. When hormones become imbalanced, your sleep is often the first to suffer. The encouraging news is that methods exist to bolster your sleep, even in the absence of those hormonal levels. The initial step, however, is acknowledging that this is not merely a figment of your imagination. It is a biological and very tangible reality. Waking at 3:00 a.m. does not signify an issue with you. It indicates your body is adapting to a new cadence. Once you grasp this, you can start to collaborate with it rather than resist it. Reason 2. Bladder sensitivity increases with age. Another frequent cause for older women finding themselves awake at 3:00 a.m. is surprisingly straightforward, yet immensely disruptive: the bladder. As women get older, the bladder tends to become more sensitive. Its elasticity diminishes, and its capacity to comfortably retain urine through the night lessens. Even a slight urge can be sufficient to rouse you. What is particularly frustrating is that the sensation is not always one of urgency. You might not feel a desperate need to go, nor might your bladder feel particularly full. Nevertheless, the signal is potent enough to extract you from profound sleep. Once awakened, re-establishing sleep is not always straightforward. Several factors contribute to this. Firstly, the pelvic floor muscles, akin to all other muscles, are inclined to weaken over time. These muscles are instrumental in supporting the bladder and regulating urine flow. When their strength wanes, the bladder can become more active, particularly during nighttime. Secondly, hormonal alterations can impact bladder tissue, rendering it more susceptible to pressure. Thirdly, certain medications and beverages such as tea, coffee, or even excessive water intake before retiring can subtly elevate the probability of a 3 a.m. awakening. Consider Linda, 72. She has consistently maintained good health, engages in daily morning walks, and adheres to a healthy diet. Yet, she found herself waking every night at the precise same hour, almost invariably needing to use the bathroom, even if only for a small amount. She reduced her fluid intake before bed, restricted caffeine consumption after 2 p.m., and began performing gentle pelvic floor exercises. Within a matter of weeks, her 3 a.m. awakenings diminished in frequency. It transcends merely avoiding beverages. It's about comprehending how your body has altered and its current needs. Even the bladder's ability to retain urine weakens with age. If you have born children, changes to the pelvic floor are even more prone to be a factor. There is also a psychological dimension to this. When your brain awakens due to bladder activity, it frequently triggers a cascade of thoughts. You begin to ponder the upcoming day, your list of tasks, or even past events. Once the mind is alert, calming it can prove difficult. Prevention is paramount. Understand your body's rhythms. Monitor your fluid intake and timing. If you are already implementing all appropriate measures but continue to wake, be assured that you are not alone. For many women, this is not solely a matter of biology, it is an element of the aging process. However, this does not preclude finding methods to mitigate its effects. If you are still viewing this video and find these observations valuable, I invite you to comment with the number 2 below to signify your presence. And if you are not yet a subscriber, I encourage you to subscribe and activate the notification bell to ensure you don't miss any future videos. Your engagement assists us in continuing to produce quality content to inform and inspire you. Now let us proceed. Reason 3, chronic pain becomes more noticeable at night. Pain possesses an uncanny ability to assert itself during the most silent periods. Throughout the day, you might successfully disregard it. Activity, dialogue, light, and ambient sounds all serve as distractions from your body's sensations. However, at night, particularly around 3 a.m., these diversions vanish. It is then that even minor discomforts can feel amplified. For older women contending with arthritis, joint inflexibility, fibromyalgia, or neuropathic pain, the early morning hours frequently usher in a surge of discomfort. The body has remained stationary for several hours. Muscles contract, joints become less pliable, and blood flow diminishes. By the time 3 a.m. arrives, that initial subtle discomfort can escalate into a compelling reason to wake. Let's reflect on Sharon. At 75, she has managed mild arthritis in her hips for many years. During daylight hours, she walks to her mailbox, performs stretches after her morning meal, and maintains activity. Yet, by the early morning, a profound ache develops in her hips. She awakens feeling agitated, changes her position, and attempts to resume sleep, but the pain is unyielding. Her physician elucidated that her inflammation levels experience a slight increase overnight, while her physical movement decreases. This combination renders the pain more difficult to overlook. There is also a psychological element that arises when pain awakens you. You become more vigilant, more susceptible, more cognizant of every sensation. Once this heightened awareness takes hold, it can sustain wakefulness even after the pain has subsided. Many women are also disinclined to take pain relief medication at night. They express concerns about potential side effects, morning drowsiness, or interactions with other medications. Consequently, they often lie in bed, awaiting the discomfort to abate. The longer they remain there, however, the more their minds tend to wander. Soon, it is not merely the body that is awake. Emotions, too, become active. This type of pain is not invariably intense. It need not be acute or abrupt. Frequently, it is a dull, persistent ache, just potent enough to draw you from deep slumber into a lighter phase of sleep. Once in that more superficial state, any stimulus, an external sound, a change in temperature, or a fleeting thought, can complete the process and awaken you entirely. Managing nighttime pain frequently commences with gentle stretching exercises in the evening, the use of supportive pillows, or indulging in warm baths before bed. For some women, modifying medications or altering sleep postures can yield a substantial improvement. Simply understanding that pain is a prevalent factor in early awakenings can also provide solace, as it signifies that nothing is inherently amiss with you. It implies your body is communicating and requires a little additional attention during those tranquil hours. Reason 4. Emotional stress rises during early hours. There is a peculiar quality to 3 a.m. that seems to draw thoughts to the forefront, anxieties you were unaware you harbored, regrets that remained subdued during the day, and fears that only find their voice in the darkness. For many older women, this early awakening is not solely a physical matter. It involves the mind attempting to process unarticulated issues. As the pace of life decelerates, more mental space becomes available. At times, this space becomes occupied by what-ifs and if-onlays, recollections of individuals no longer with us, conversations we wish had unfolded differently, and apprehensions concerning the future, health, finances, or simply the feeling of solitude. These thoughts do not bide their time until morning. They emerge in the stillness when the world is hushed and no external distractions are present. Consider Nancy, aged 76. She retires to bed with a sense of calm, yet with predictable regularity she awakens before sunrise. Her heart is not racing, she experiences no physical pain, but her mind is fully engaged. She begins to ruminate on her sister's well-being, her grandson's difficulties, and whether she remembered to settle a bill the previous week. Within moments, she is completely awake and feeling inundated. This is not a haphazard occurrence. The brain's emotional regulation centers exhibit heightened activity during specific sleep phases. When sleep is light, particularly in the early morning, these centers can become excessively stimulated. You are not merely awakening from a dream, you are awakening into an influx of thoughts and emotions. It is also common for older women to perceive a sort of unspoken expectation to maintain family cohesion, to exhibit strength, and to navigate changes without complaint. All of this unvoiced responsibility does not simply vanish when the lights are turned off. It often makes its presence felt at 3 a.m., demanding your focus. Once these thoughts commence, they are not easily quelled. You might attempt deep breathing exercises, counting in reverse, or recalling a serene memory. However, sometimes the mind persists in its activity, not by choice, but because it is striving to resolve something, to establish a sense of control during a period of life that frequently feels replete with transitions. One helpful strategy is to keep a small notepad near your bedside. Jotting down what occupies your mind, even just a few words, can assist the brain in releasing these thoughts. Gentle pre-sleep rituals, such as journaling, prayer, or listening to soft music, can also mitigate the emotional accumulation that surfaces later. Above all, remind yourself that awakening in this manner does not indicate a flaw in you. It signifies your humanity, and it indicates that your heart remains profoundly connected to the life you have constructed. If you are still viewing this video and find these observations valuable, I invite you to comment with the number 4 below to signify your presence. And if you are not yet a subscriber, I encourage you to subscribe and activate the notification bell to ensure you don't miss any future videos. Your engagement assists us in continuing to produce quality content to inform and inspire you. Now let us proceed. Reason 5. Circadian rhythm shifts with age. As we advance in years, our internal biological clock, the circadian rhythm, starts to undergo a transformation. It begins to prompt us to fall asleep at an earlier time in the evening and to awaken earlier in the morning. For numerous older women, this translates to drifting off to sleep around 9 or 10 p.m. and waking up near 3 or 4 a.m., not due to stress or discomfort, but simply because their brain interprets it as morning. This alteration occurs gradually and organically over time. The body commences melatonin production, the hormone signaling sleep readiness, earlier in the evening. By the time 3 a.m. arrives, melatonin levels are receding again. This is when the brain receives the cue to initiate preparations for wakefulness, even if it remains dark externally. For women who were formerly night owls, or accustomed to 7 to 8 hours of continuous sleep, this change can feel quite unsettling. You might lie in bed questioning why your sleep is no longer as it once was, or why you are wide awake while everyone else is asleep. What is actually occurring is that your internal rhythm is adapting to a new tempo, one that does not invariably align with the clock on your bedside table. Let's consider Helen. Now 80, she previously went to bed at midnight. However, over recent years, she has observed an inability to stay awake past 9:30 p.m. Nearly every morning, she is fully awake by 3:15 a.m. Initially, she suspected insomnia, but her physician clarified that it was a shift in her circadian rhythm, a typical aspect of aging. Once Helen ceased attempting to compel herself back to sleep and began modifying her evening routines, her mornings became calmer and less fraught with frustration. This type of alteration is not an issue requiring a solution. It is a rhythm to be understood. When we resist our body's inherent signals, we generate increased tension. Conversely, when we harmonize with them, we can discover new patterns that feel serene, even if they differ from previous ones. For instance, if you anticipate waking early, you might also plan an earlier bedtime. Alternatively, if you find yourself awake at 3 a.m., rather than remaining in frustration, you could establish a comforting routine, such as sipping warm water, engaging in a few minutes of breathing exercises, or reading something calming until sleep revisits. The crucial element is to cease self-reproach for waking up. Your body is not failing you, it is adjusting. When you begin to heed these rhythms with patience and attentiveness, the night no longer feels so protracted. It integrates into a cycle, one that remains operational, albeit in a new manner. Reason 6. Medications interfere with deep sleep. Many older women rely on medications to manage conditions such as blood pressure, heart ailments, bone density, digestive issues, or chronic pain. While these prescriptions can be vital, they frequently carry a subtle side effect: disturbed sleep. Some can disrupt deep sleep stages, others may heighten nighttime alertness, and a select few can directly induce early morning awakenings, particularly around 3 a.m., when your body is navigating between phases of rest. Not all physicians highlight this, and not every woman establishes the connection. However, if you have commenced a new medication in recent months and have observed more frequent or earlier awakenings, it warrants attention, as the timing may not be coincidental. Let's take the case of Betty, age 78. She was prescribed a beta blocker for her cardiac condition. Within several weeks, she identified a pattern, waking up fully alert at precisely 3 a.m. almost every night. She felt neither anxious nor uncomfortable, merely suddenly awake and unable to resume sleep. Her doctor explained that certain heart medications can reduce melatonin levels, the hormone instrumental in sleep regulation. With diminished melatonin, her sleep became lighter, and navigating the early morning hours asleep proved more challenging. Other medications, such as diuretics, are formulated to assist the body in expelling fluid. However, if taken too late in the day, they can provoke bladder urgency during the night, leading to avoidable awakenings. Still, other medications can influence REM sleep cycles, resulting in more vivid dreams and more restless sleep. It is also pertinent to note that as we age, our bodies metabolize medications differently. A medication that produced no side effects in one's 60s might have an entirely different impact in one's 70s. The liver's function slows, the kidneys process substances more gradually, meaning medications remain in the system for longer durations, sometimes impacting sleep well after bedtime. This does not imply that you should discontinue your medication. It does, however, suggest that it is appropriate to pose questions. You can confer with your doctor or pharmacist regarding whether your prescriptions might be contributing to nighttime awakenings. Occasionally, a simple adjustment in timing or a switch to an alternative formulation can make a significant difference. You are entitled to restful sleep. If an item in your medicine cabinet is counteracting that, there may be strategies to address it. The initial step is observation. The second is inquiry. And the third is to establish a rhythm that allows you to feel secure, rested, and fully supported in your later years. If you are still viewing this video and find these observations valuable, I invite you to comment with the number 6 below to signify your presence. And if you are not yet a subscriber, I encourage you to subscribe and activate the notification bell to ensure you don't miss any future videos. Your engagement assists us in continuing to produce quality content to inform and inspire you. Now let us proceed. Final thoughts. If you have ever experienced frustration from waking at 3 a.m. and questioned what might be wrong, please know this: you are not singular in this experience, nor are you flawed. What you are encountering is something many older women undergo. More often than not, it is grounded in genuine changes, biological, emotional, and physical, that accompany the aging process. Which of these points resonated most with you? Was it the alteration in hormones, the manner in which your bladder rouses you before dawn, or the quiet racing thoughts that emerge in the darkness and refuse to dissipate? Each of these reasons narrates a story, not merely about sleep, but about how your body is attempting to communicate with you. When we listen with patience and attentiveness, that narrative becomes considerably less intimidating and far more manageable. This is no longer about pursuing the ideal night's sleep. It is about cultivating peace with the sleep you currently experience and learning to support it gently, night after night. It involves modifying your bedtime rhythm, consulting your doctor, adjusting your routines, and, most importantly, recognizing that every one of these changes is a natural component of the journey you are on. You remain strong. You continue to grow. And even in the quietude of 3 a.m., you are not alone. Thank you for joining us today. We would be delighted to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share one insight you gained today and how you intend to apply it in your life. Your perspectives are valuable to us, so please do not hesitate to share them. Reading your comments provides us with significant motivation and encouragement. If you found this video enjoyable and beneficial, please like, subscribe, and share it. Your support enables us to persist in creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thank you for watching, and we anticipate seeing you in the next video.